BSL isn't just hand. That's the big takeaway message. I think sometimes people see, deaf people signing and think, oh, they're just moving their hands. But there's so much more. There's so much richness to the language. Hello and welcome to BSL Club. Have you ever wondered, so what exactly is BSL? We're going to answer that question today. Are you ready? So the most obvious thing about British Sign Language is that it's visual. You have to look at the person to understand them, as opposed to a spoken language. BSL, although it's a visual language, it's certainly not mime or gesture, and it's not international. It's a language with its own syntax, that's word order, and grammar, grammatical rules to follow. So there are a number of components to BSL, and it doesn't just include your hands, although that's a big part of it. The first thing about BSL is that there is a signing space that you are signing within. So usually that signing space will start just above your head and then it will end just at your waist. And in terms of going forwards, usually around arm's length, if not a bit closer, depending on what you're signing. So that means all your signs and movements will operate within that signing space. The next element, the next part of BSL that I'm going to talk about is about the use of your face, including your mouth, your eyes, and your eyebrows. So often in my videos, I will remind you, don't forget your facial expressions. Make sure your facial expressions match or link to what you're signing. And that's really important. When you're looking at a deaf person signing, you'll see that they're not just signing with a blank face like this. They're signing and their face is also part, it adds information to what they're saying. And that's what you want to do as well. For example, in my weather video, we talked about the sign for rain, but we also modified or changed it by using facial expressions and mouth patterns so that you could sign heavy rain or light rain. And that's a good example of how facial expressions add information. Have a look at that weather video. I'll put the link up. Use of your head is really important when you're signing as well. When you're signing, your head is not still. It's doing something to add to what you're saying. So for example, if you are signing, someone says, how are you? And you go, oh, good. You're not just signing good. You're probably nodding to add emphasis, to say, oh yeah, I feel good. And also, using your head can change the meaning of the sign entirely to be the opposite of what you're saying. So for example, you go, you might reply, or now. And so the sign now is like, yes, I'm going now, or no, I'm not going now. But the sign, the handshake is the same. So the most obvious part of BSL is the use of your hands. Now, using your hands to create handshapes creates different signs depending on a number of things. So you can make the same hand shape, but it doesn't follow it's the same sign. So for example, the hand shape with your two fingers sticking out like this could be look or watch, as we talked about earlier, but it could also mean walking if it's face downwards this way. Walking aimlessly, walking intensely. So the same two fingers have different meaning depending on how you've placed it within your space. And also sometimes the movement that you're making with that same hand shape, this is walking. But if it's open and still like this is watching. There are over 50 hand shapes. So the more you learn signs, the more you will begin to realize, oh, that's that handshake, that's another handshake. Another handshake we use quite a lot is the thumbs up handshake. So the thumbs up handshake, how are you? That's good. I'm good. But it could also mean something like finished. That's 2 thumbs up, a 2-handed sign, finish. The same hand shape could be used for the sign better or best. So the difference between better and best is the movement, not the hand shapes. So your hands make a sign, and some of those signs remind you of the object or the thing that you're signing. For example, the sign, we talked about it in the weather video, the sign for rainbow. We talked about that being iconic because it looks like a rainbow. You're drawing a rainbow in space. But you could also use your hands to kind of recreate the object that you're signing. So a good sign for this is scissors. Your 2 fingers are actually coming together to cut something in the same way that scissors would. So that is also another example of an iconic sign. Either the hand is mimicking the actual object like scissors, or it's creating or drawing a picture in space like the sign for rainbow. Be careful though, because not all signs are iconic. In fact, many signs are signs that you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell unless you'd learnt what the meaning was. You wouldn't be able to look and go, oh, that resembles the sign, the meaning of what is being signed. For example, the sign for sun is sun. You wouldn't necessarily know by looking at someone signing it, oh, that looks similar to a sun, to a boy. You wouldn't tell. But the sign for the sun, sun, but in contrast, S-U-N, that is an iconic sign because it's like the sun rays beaming and shining. So some signs are iconic and they help us. Some signs are not, and you need to just learn them. And also, the use of your body is really important in BSL. So your trunk specifically, so from how you move the upper part of your body, will also add information to what your hands are doing. So for example, if you're moving forwards, it usually shows that some interest, you're excited, you come forwards with your body. But if you're moving back, it can look as if you're a little bit suspicious, you're not sure. For example, if you were to sign the sign for being tired or exhausted, maybe somebody would ask you, how are you? And you would reply. Now, it wouldn't make sense if somebody was to say, and your reply would be, because your mouth is doing the right thing, you're making the right puffing pattern, your hands are doing the right thing, but actually your body is upright. So your body is doing opposite to what everything else is doing. So it'd be better and it'd make more sense for someone to say, and you were to reply, because then your chest is falling, your mouth pattern is the puffing pattern, and then your hands are also doing the right thing. So I hope you can see that BSL isn't just hands. That's the big takeaway message. I think sometimes people see, deaf people signing and think, oh, they're just moving their hands. But there's so much more. There's so much richness to the language that helps to express or convey meaning and feeling as well. So I hope that's been useful to you. For more BSL videos and deaf awareness videos, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below if you want to learn more about BSL, the history of BSL, which is really interesting, and the linguistics of BSL as well. Comment down below and I'll do what I can to produce a simple to follow video. Now, a book that's really helped me in the making of this video is called The Beginner's Guide to BSL by Dorothy Miles, and I'd really recommend that book. It's an old book, I think it was made in the 80s, but it's really helpful just to give an insight into the language beyond the signs and the vocabulary that we love to learn. So check that book out. I'll leave a link down below for that as well. Until next time, bye-bye.